Okay, in response to the question of how I personally trade SPY, a few things to note, right? As always, I am trading SPY on 0 day contracts 90% of the time. So take that into consideration when you're listening to how I personally trade SPY. There's so many ways to trade this with the strat. This is just how I do it. And you have to adjust based off of your situation, right? So, um, I'm going to start the SPY challenge again just for myself, really. Took a step back until I got quite a few questions around it. So, number one rule is I trade with the continuity of the day because, again, I'm in 0 days. So, I'm happy to take a trade if the daily continuity is going my way, but like, let's say the week or the month or the quarter or the year or not, I'm only doing a day trade. So as long as the day is going my way, I'm okay, right? Number one, I trade with the continuity of the day. I'm going to tell you the rule and then I'm going to tell you the reasons why I would break that rule. I don't have a lovely example off the bat, but the only reason why I would break the rule of having the daily continuity is if the setup made sense. So, actually, this isn't okay. Last Friday is an okay example of when and why I would break that rule. So, and when you're trading anything really, you should be marking the daily open. If you can't just tell with your eyes, you should always have that marked. Okay. So first things first, this goes down, and this is this goes down, comes back up. What I do know is that the day is red on a day like today, or I guess last Friday. This day is red. The only time I would break my rule is if there's an obvious setup, right? This is pretty obvious 2-2 reversal, right? And I'm going to change my red daily continuity back to green, which would put everything in FTC, right? So flipping this green would then put the hour, the day, the week, the month, etc., in green. Because the only thing that was red in this was the hour and the day. So I know that on this trigger, on this entry, I'm going to flip everything back green. So I would have full time frame continuity. Okay, so that's the reason why I would negate my rule of trading with the daily continuity, right? Also, something to consider is how close I am to flipping that continuity, right? So from my entry to flipping the day is less than 10 cents. Well, no, 10, less than 20 cents. Wow, math is hard at night. That's 14 cents from my entry to flipping the day, right? Pretty close, fine risk to take. I'm also trading on the hour, so I'll have a whole hour to hit this would be my first target on that entry, right? So that is when you would break that rule, okay? Another rule that I have is I trade specific to the SPY challenge. Wow, that's going to take a long time. I trade on the 30 or the hour. The only reason and only time I would break that rule is if it was a trend day, right? Today, in hindsight, looks like a trend day, but really, what a trend day is something more like this. Let me see if I can find a really good trend day. I know we had something last week that looked really nice. Something like probably this. I want the first hour to be like super aggressive right out the gate, and then the rest of the hours to just really go with it. I guess I can make this larger for you. So this would be a decent trend day. See this first hour, and then we have everything else going with us. This is an obvious trend situation, but I think this is what, like, this was the Trump rally, like when he said he's getting rid of tariffs. So not the most ideal example. I know I had one. I want to say it was last week or something that I traded on the 5. I can't recall, but the time and reason I would break that rule of only trading on the 30 and 60 is if it is a trend day. And when you have a trend, and I mentioned this in a previous video, when you have a trend and you realize that like we're bullish across the board or we're bearish across the board, what that indicates is that you need to go to a smaller time frame to get a proper entry. Okay. Let me see if maybe it was Tuesday. It feels like it was probably last Tuesday. So if we go back to Tuesday the 13th, we shot out the gate, right? This hour is open. And yeah. So let's do this so you can see better. I'll do the 5 and the hour on last Tuesday. Today you could argue was a trend day, but it took a minute for things to get going. Let's see. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. Okay, Monday. It's Tuesday. Okay, this is way further back. Okay, Tuesday the 13th. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So we have this huge aggressive hour out of the gate. And what am I seeing? I see this hammer 5er. And sometimes it's difficult to know if it's a trend in the first 5 minutes, like, and that's totally fine. This is my entry though. This inside 5 is my entry. So let's see where that is on the hour. And I talked about this in my previous video. You may have to go back and find it, right? But because it shot out the gate, right? This was the trend. I want to say like Nvidia and half of the Mag 7 gapped up this day. And so that also indicated strength and all of that kind of stuff, bullish movement, yada, yada, yada. So the reason why I would break my 30-60 rule is if I'm trading with the trend, you're going to have to find a smaller time frame entry because the trend is going to be moving so quickly. And you can see that here. So if this is the same day, your 30-minute entry is going to be up here, and then you get chopped around quite a bit, especially for a 0 day. Like, you don't want this. So on trend days, I want to find a lower time frame entry. Okay, that is clear. That's my second rule, is 30-60s. What did I do today in SPY? I took a double inside 30, which triggered inside hour. These are really like the setups that pay and you love. Today was, honestly, like, you could argue today was a trend day, right? No bottom wick, it just shot out the gate. You could have probably found a really decent entry. I wasn't around during the open, so I did get in the game late. But what also happened was simultaneous inside hours across the Mag 7. This was my entry today, double inside 30, which triggered inside hour, so pretty confident in that. And yeah, from here to about here, 0 days did a little more than 200%, so I was pretty happy with that. Movement and aggression. But yeah, I want to really simplify it because I'm getting a ton of questions. Like, that's the main focus, really. Like, trade with the day, continuity, and trade on the 30-60, and you'll be fine, right? Like, you're not going to be seeing 1,000%ers, but you do 200% compounding every day, and maybe you have, a 50% loss here and there, you're going to be making significant money, right? And that's really what I'm after. Another thing I'm after is just patient and trusting my chart and all of that. So that's how I'm trading SPY right now. That could change, but I've been doing pretty well with it, and so that's where I'm at. I hope I answered all your questions. If not, I mean, I reckon you can just ask me directly. I sort of get around to this when I get around to it. So, yeah, I hope that's simple.